Okay, so this is my medical journal. I actually have another smaller A5, a pink A5 that I got from Go Get a Girl. But that's in the back, and that's more for information. But this is my medical journal and my medical notebook. February of 2024, I had a cough, and I coughed up something brown. I went to the urgent care, and it would only happen for 2 hours. And she was laughed. She said 2 hour symptoms. I'm like, hey, I work in a lab. I've been in the medical field for 15 years. Trust me, I know my body. But nothing happened after that. I was fine. Negative for COVID or any other respiratory ailment. Okay. Go home. Go back home. March 24th, I can't breathe. I'm having problems breathing. I'm struggling to get from the parking lot to the door at work, and that's like literally a 25-second walk, and I can't make it. I find myself holding on to the wall just to make it to work, and I'm like, oh my God, something is definitely wrong. Up until March, that 1 2 hour thing in February is the only thing I had, only symptom I had. So what I do, you know how we do. We work the weekend. I finished my shift, went to urgent care that Monday, around March 24th, 25th, I think. I can't remember. But towards the end of March. And they sent me to the hospital. I had, I made an appointment to get a chest x-ray and blood work, because up here, you just can't walk in for blood work. Again, I live in a very rural area. So I made an appointment. And the doctor was like, she's like, no, I need you to go get a chest x-ray now, because we want to make sure everything's okay. So Wednesday, I go get my chest x-ray, and I have pneumonia. I've never, ever had pneumonia. Matter of fact, the only time I was sick was when I was 3 and I had a blood infection. That was the last time I actually was in the hospital. I've had knee surgery because I messed my knee up. I had to, twisted it and messed up the ACL, that stuff. But nothing that I've ever been hospitalized, because I've just never been a sickly child or person. Then she calls me back and she says, hi, I need you to go back to the hospital. You never want to call somebody and tell them to go back to the hospital. Go back to the hospital. I get some more x-rays done. They called me Thursday and they tell me that I'm in heart failure. When I tell you I cried when I was she told me that, then I read the chart, and I was in heart failure. My left ventricle was only functioning at 20%. I've never had an issue with my heart. I never had an issue breathing. I did not have any symptoms of breathing until a few days prior to that Friday, prior to me going to urgent care that Monday. That's the first time I ever had a breathing issue, and it just hit me out the blue. So fast forward a couple of weeks, and it is confirmed I am in heart failure. At that time, I was 43. I just turned 43 in November 2023, and March 26th, I believe, or 27th of 2024, I got diagnosed with heart failure. I was devastated. I was so depressed because I don't know where the hell this came from. So I called my mom, tell her what's going on. She drops everything, and she's up like a week later, maybe a week and a half later, probably not even then. She's on her way. She's getting her affairs situated in DC, and she's coming up to at the time I was living in Vermont. She's coming up to Vermont to be with me, to see what's going on. Because if she couldn't make it, my aunt was like, hey, I'm closer. If you need to, I'll be there within a few hours. So my family was ready to mobilize. Then, next thing you know, I'm on 5 types of medications. I'm getting blood work every few days. I'm at the hospital twice a day. I'm spending hours there. I'm getting all these tests, everything. I was out of work for 2 weeks for pneumonia because I just could not breathe. I got an inhaler given to me, and I wasn't feeling it. Mom stayed with me for a good couple of months, because then I'm going to a special hospital. I'm driving an hour out, 2 hour round trip to go to the hospitals, because again, I live in a rural city. and everywhere. No matter, even if you live in the big cities here, you still have to drive to another city to get what you got to do. It's not like we're on the East Coast, you know. So we did that. And July 15th, I get a cardiac MRI, which you have to wait for because it's a specialized MRI. You need a special doctor and rad tech to, monitor it and do what needs to be done. So that was a good hour or so procedure. And then on July 17th, I had my mom wasn't able to come up because the appointments moved so fast after she went home. They told me that I have a rare genetic heart defect that apparently I was born with that caused my heart failure. So then they realized my left ventricle, that's when she told me my medication was not working. I am still on the meds. Like it hasn't increased my ejection fraction. My left ventricle is ejecting at 20%, but they also found out my right ventricle is ejecting at 38%. Yeah, you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to function at 60%. That's just what the heart is. Not 100%. 60% is 100%. 40% you get kind of dangerous. I'm at 20 and 38. It's wow. What? Yeah. So the medicine has just been keeping me from going any lower since everything just kind of hit at once. At first they did think it was COVID. They was thinking because again I work in the lab, so I was working in a lab. 2020 or basically 2019. I've been in the lab since 2018. So, we was there when stuff happened. Nobody masked up till like the middle of 2020. So they was thinking maybe it was COVID. I had it, never had any symptoms, never tested positive for it. But then they ruled that out because sometimes the virus can cause heart failure. Yes, I did get the vaccine, but I guess the paperwork looked that it was more of the genetic defect, which at the time of this recording, I have been talking to a geneticist and I'm waiting on the test kit to go ahead and do that. So once I get those results and everything, I'll share those. I was rather hoping it was COVID than a genetic heart defect that apparently I've always had. So my heart has always been enlarged, which pissed me off because when I was in school, I had to get a tuberculosis test and a chest X-ray, and it was there. They said my heart has always been large. And I remember the doctor years ago told me that I had a heart murmur, but then that was it. He never mentioned like what it does or anything. It's just there. So there's always been an issue. But when I did a chest x-ray in fucking DC, they saw that it was enlarged because this shit doesn't happen overnight. And this has been building for a while. And since it wasn't what they would look for, they're like, oh no, you're good. That's how people die. Because if it's not their business, they don't care about helping you. And if it wasn't for that nurse practitioner at the urgent care that saw that my heart was enlarged and told me, hey, I need you to go back to the hospital. Who knows what would have happened? She saved my life. And I'm so thankful for my heart team and my primary care doctors I have now because it has been hell from February 2024 until October 2024. It has just been whirlwind for me. July, she told me that the medicine wasn't working. And with the type of rare heart disease I have, which is left ventricle non-compaction, I needed to have an implant. Again, I bawled, I cried. I was like, I cannot believe this. I was trying to tell myself it's not a heart transplant, so it's not as bad. But I was like, fuck that. I have every right to be upset and scared and just destroyed because this is your heart, So August 14th, I went in and I got my first heart surgery. Yes, my first heart surgery. It was an hour and a half. And then 2 days later, I had a complication. We didn't know it was a complication until a week and a half later on August 28th. Within those 2 weeks, I was in the ER twice. The ER that's near my house. And then I had actually ended up going back to work. I know. And I became unresponsive at work and they wheeled me to the ER. And I was fine. I went home after the 4 hours I was at my ER. And the next day I was like, you know what? I need to go to the hospital. Because I was telling them that something's wrong. I feel like I'm being shocked. And what happened was something that they told me could happen. Um, the lead of my, the lead of the defibrillator that I have, and not a pacemaker, but my defibrillator, the lead poked through the bottom of my heart, and it was um, hitting my diaphragm. So every time I took a deep breath in, I was getting a cigarette burn on the inside, right underneath my breastplate where my rib was. So I was being burned 3 or 4 times, like every other day. So basically, after it happened that Friday, I had the surgery. I had surgery. No, I had surgery Wednesday. I got home. Got taken out. Well, I got sent home Thursday. Friday, I was in the ER. We thought it was gas, and it was. It started to be gas because surgery be jacking you up. Then after that, I'm like, okay, it's good. Nope, and I kept getting it. So when I went back to my electrophysiologist, they confirmed that the lead had moved 2 millimeters and that it had dislodged, and it actually turned the voltage up. So it was fucking me up. Let's just put it that way. So on August 28th, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, August 28th. August 28th, I had to go back for a second surgery. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to the day. 2 weeks in a day since I had my last surgery, that to go back in, cut over the same brand new incision. They removed the old lead, put in a shorter one, and moved it to a different area. And they was just making sure that I wasn't going to bleed out, because now I have a greater chance of bleeding out. And I did not. The surgery was wonderful. It went there. My electrocardiologist physiologist was so sad. She was so upset with herself. She was like, "You've already went through so much in a short time, and now this." And I'm like, "You warned me. It's a possibility that can happen. Everybody's different. You don't know exactly how the wire would affect you." They caught it. They fixed it. And as of this recording, which is October 31st, I have been fine. I was on a total of 8 weeks restriction. I was out of work for a month, and I now can breathe better, move everything. I'm still getting used to the device in my chest. It's, I could just press it and feel it, and it's weird. It's really weird. I haven't had any more electrocutions or anything like that. I've been fine, and I'm just thankful for it, because it's like now, this year, my heart was like, okay, you've done everything I was supposed to do, like lifting couches and running and personal changes and everything. My heart was like, okay, I'm tired. So I'm glad that I do have this done. So this right here is my medical journal. I'll be keeping track of it. So I have everything that's wrong with me. No longer PCS or endometriosis, and I'm no longer iron deficient. So I'm happy about this. Of course, I have heart failure with ejection fraction. I do have a pituitary adenoma, or a micropituitary adenoma, which is a type of brain tumor. I know I'm all fucked up. And then because of the pituitary adenoma, I've had hypertension for years, and they found that it was due because of this. Cholestasis. I found out I had this. I was complaining to a doctor like 6 years ago for a whole year, and that bitch never told me anything until I got my medical records. And I'm like, I hate certain doctors because they just do not care whatsoever. I didn't even know what the hell this was. I had to look this up. Just because I'm in the medical field, I mean I know everything. But currently I have heart failure. So my pituitary adenoma, of course, my hypertension is controlled with medication, because before, when I was doing cabergoline for my brain tumor, I tried to go off of it and regulate it, and I'm unable to regulate my blood pressure with diet or exercise. So it went right back to like 153 over like 120 or something like that. Yeah, it was horrible. So the medication I'm on now for the heart failure has my blood pressure like in the teens over the 70s. So I'm doing good. And I started this one the 24th of last year. So then this is how I started doing it. I started checking. I have to check my blood pressure every day, and I have to weigh myself every day. One thing about heart failure is that your body holds on to fluid that can stop you. It's bad. You don't want fluid around your heart. So I have to check my heart rate and my weight every day. I have to look for changes in my weight every day. Since May, I have been 228, give or take anywhere between 225 and 228, or no, 225 and 230. And I've never changed more than like 2 or 3. Or, being a woman, sometimes you'll gain 4 pounds in that day because, we breathe too hard. But my weight has never changed. So I've had this one. I check the fluids I drink. I track my sleep. I was doing my activity tracker, my energy, steps and everything. Any type of like the days when I started taking medication, swelling, the sodium content, fruits, vegetables. So that was May. And then, just any notes. And then June is when I'd actually end up moving. So June was a horrible month for me to track anything. I just couldn't get a lot of stuff in like I needed to. Then this was July. July was just hot as hell. Again, I couldn't do everything I wanted to do. I didn't track everything like I wanted, like I should. Important notes. I tried to do a food diary, but then I only lasted but so long. I'm trying to write everything down. Try to write down my numbers. Yeah, that wasn't working. And then it goes to October. What I did is I ended up switching to that small notebook for August and September. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to go back to the bigger one. So those 2 months, again, August and September were horrible because that's when I was going through the surgery and recovery and everything was out of whack. So that was those 2 bad months. But then I have October. Again, I always write down my blood pressure chart and daily record. So I'll write down the time and everything and, my weight when I take the stuff. Again, I failed on that part. I do have something to help me do it better. My sleep tracker, again, there are some days where it looks like I haven't slept. It's because I went to bed that night, woke up in the morning, and then I had to go to work. So I probably stayed up all day and just didn't get to sleep, or I just went to bed after midnight. Again, my step tracker, exercise tracker, again, the type of fluids I was drinking, any symptoms I've had, and how everything was. Medical notes, food diary, again, didn't work there. Potassium-rich foods, because one thing with this is that I have low potassium, and it was starting to get critical, close to critical. Not quite, but it was lower than what it was supposed to be, so I had to write down some stuff. And then this brings us to November. So this again is the stencil, and I've shortened what I write in here. I do write more notes of everything that's going on with me. So I have a lot of medical papers that I just read and I just transfer the most important stuff here. So that goes on afterwards. But this is like any appointments I have for the month. And I'm always having appointments. Every month I'm going to have an appointment. So this is the notes, and then I got my little stickers, because Thanksgiving is my birthday and November is my birthday and Big Back Day. So, I had to put that there. Then here's my sleep tracker for the whole month. And sometimes I can sleep up to 12 hours, like on the days I'm off of work. And then step tracker. I think the most I've gone was like 11,000 steps in a day. And that's rare. Like I can't do that often. Normally I'm sitting at like 8, 9, which is better than what it was before. But 15, you never know, I may make it. And then this is the last part, which is any important notes, like if the doctor calls and we're having things, because I have to do blood work twice a month to make sure everything's okay. So we have that. So that is now my medical journal. And my mom had got me this one from Amazon, which is my personal notebook. So in the beginning of the notebook, I have my information and my emergency contracts and all of my doctors, since I now have a bolo of doctors. And then this here is my immunization log, because again, now that I'm immunocompromised, I've been in medical field. You don't have to get a flu shot, but you do. But I'm immune compromised. I need everything I can do now. So of course, I can write down any shots that I get. Then I have a list of my medications. There is the eye doctor that was there. And the eye doctor, since you see him once a year, he may not even be there next year. He may be somebody else. So he may not even be there next year. Then I have a blood pressure log. So instead of writing it in a book, it's here. And I put this line because it looked like it says, I'm like, it's just one date. Then I'm like, oh, that's right. Some people check their blood pressure twice. So I'm going to start doing that. When I get home from work, I normally get home depending on what day I work, I get home anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning. So I come home, I relax, chill, and then I take my blood pressure. Then I take my blood pressure, my all my heart meds, all my medications. And then I'm like, I could take it again in the afternoon before I go to work. So that's what this whole one is. Then we have the blood sugar log. I'm not diabetic. They did put me in a diabetes, pre-diabetes prevention class because heart failure and everything just blew everything off. I'm not, I think mine was like a 5.6, which is close to like pre-diabetes, whatever it is. So they want to make sure I don't develop diabetes. And I'm like, I ain't never had this my whole 44 years of life. I ain't never had this shit. So now look. But I'm going to change this to blood serum. As like I said, I'll be getting my blood work every 2 weeks. So I will have blood serum as opposed to blood sugar in a dose. Then you have a symptom tracker. This whole section is a symptom tracker. Just like all of it, which is good because sometimes I get heart palpitations. I can feel it beating. Sometimes I may get dizzy or a headache, and I can just write that down and keep this on me. And when I need to go to the doctor, I just bust this out. And then again, this is the doctor visit log. So my mom got this for me when she was here. She came back up for my surgery on August 12th, and she just left on October 30th. So she was here for a little over 2.5 months. She abandoned me. No, I'm joking. She went back home, but she'll be back. But yeah. So this is now a companion what I have. So that's the beautiful thing that happened, which is why now I have so many planners, because there's so many aspects of my life that I really need to plan out and focus and realize what I need to do, because having the heart failure made me not want to leave the house. And I can't do that to myself. I have to get out and live life and just enjoy it, because I am living, I'm doing good. I have a good medical care team. My medicines are good. And yeah, it's just a lot to deal with.